I always thought I had a tonke. You know tonke? Tong means shit. It means no race, no nothing. I found out that there actually is a race dog. Who told me? Rebecca told me, or Maggie. American Eskimo dog. I looked it up on me, that's why I'm a little bit late. I was so enchanted by those pictures. Same.
What is it? Eskimo dog?
American Eskimo dog. So my status has now risen.
Expectation.
From tomcat to race dog. We have Manipura Chakra. That's an important one. Well, they are all important actually. Manipura Chakra, why do I say it's important? Manipura Chakra is easy to feel. When you feel excitement, for example, you feel that fire burning in your stomach if you pay attention. It's not for nothing that it's called the city of jewels. That's because it's always shining. Manipura Chakra is the only chakra that is always full of energy. And you have to consider Manipura Chakra as the sun in our solar system, or as the nuclear power plant providing the city with electricity. Manipura Chakra is your energy plant, your power plant. You can very easily see how it works. When you regularly exercise, Manipura Chakra is bright and energetic, full of energy, which means that you overall are full of energy. Manipura Chakra is responsible for movement, propulsion, we call that. So propulsion in general, but especially the legs. So if you don't move, the fire in Manipura Chakra will also become dim. It works two ways. You have to do maintenance to keep the fire burning. So walking, brisk walking, not strolling, but a brisk walk on a regular basis, a couple of times a week, is very instrumental, very important actually, to maintain a good energy supply from Manipura Chakra. People who have a good Manipura Chakra have also very good eyesight. Because the vehicle of the Jnanendriya, of this chakra is, or the subtle organ of perception is the eyes. And you can see this in Korea very easily. If you go to a gym where young children practice taekwondo, you know, they do that 5 days a week in Korea. If you become a member of a gym, taekwondo, hapkido, judo, whatever. So children, they are being picked up by a minibus after school, and they go to the gym every day to play around for an hour and do exercise. Most of those children do not wear glasses. I've seen that several times. However, if you go into a classroom full of children, you see that 2/3 of the children wear glasses, if not more. How is it possible? Because most of those children do not go to the to the gym, to the taekwondo gym or otherwise. Most of those children change bags and go to another hagwon or another institute to learn more. So there you can see how important it is, because if it affects the eye so much, it affects all other parts of your body as well. The health of all functioning parts of you are affected by this as well. So it's very important for children to have at least an hour to fool around and play and act crazy and just get tired physically. Mayurasana is the ultimate exercise to stimulate Manipura Chakra. That's why we are doing that in addition to the other 3 fire exercises we have done. But absolutely making a regular walk and the walk should exceed at least 30 minutes, and you should be walking briskly. If you do that, I do it almost every day. If you do that, you will feel the heat rising up. If you just stand still for a moment and you feel your body, you feel that heat burning in you. That is a sign of good health. This is very important to maintain that. Especially when you get older. Many people think that Manipura Chakra is what is known as the concept of Danjeon or Hara. But Manipura Chakra is just below the diaphragm, the solar plexus. While if you ask Chinese or Korean people where is the Danjeon or Tantien, they will point to their lower belly. How is that possible? That's the water center. Have you ever thought about this? Do you understand why this is occurring, this confusion? There are not many people who can explain this because they don't know. They think that the concept of Danjeon or Hara is one chakra. And because the fire center is the energy plant, they think it must be Manipura Chakra. But then if you ask them to point out where is it located, and they point below the navel. That is because Manipura Chakra is not Danjeon. The Danjeon is in fact a fusion of 3 chakras fusing together. And that are the lowest 3. Muladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura. And I will explain how it works also. Because it will come back when we start doing energy control exercises also. We have Muladhara Chakra. The subtle energy of which is Apana Prana. And energy always rises up. It's falling apart. Energy always rises up. When you are not so healthy, you will not experience anything like this. This is a subtle phenomenon which you can start noticing when you pay attention. And when you increase your levels of energy as a result of your practice also. Apana Prana when you sit in meditation, concentrated in Ajna Chakra, you pull energy up. the spine erects and energy circulation accelerates, what happens is the apana prana that rises up fuses with the samana prana of Vishuddha Swadhisthana chakra, and those two energies together fuse with the energy of Manipura Chakra, which we simply call Prana or generic Prana, responsible for propulsion, for movement. And this is the concept of Danjeon. It is the three spheres of energy that form one ball of energy together. When we start practicing pranayama, energy control, this will come back. And then maybe you will start becoming aware of this also. Okay?
We cannot find the exact location of Danjeon. It's not one point, it's an area like that.
Yeah, it is a ball in the lower abdomen.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
What is Danjeon exactly? In English? Do we have a
There is no English word for it. In Japanese you call it Hara. It's in the handout. Harakiri is the practice of committing suicide, but the proper word for harakiri is actually sepuku. Harakiri, I forgot the real meaning. It has something to do with pride or honor or something. I once asked a Japanese person, when you commit harakiri or sepuku, you take a knife or a sword and you stab yourself in your abdomen and you pull it up. In Chinese it's called Tantien. Tantien, Danjeon, same. Korean and Chinese are very similar. Like German and Dutch are very similar. The fire is something that needs to be controlled, needs to be conquered. It is important that we have a bright fire burning inside us, but fire, as you know, can destroy you. It can digest you. As the fire digests materials, burning it up. And you can see this with people who have a very strong ambition to achieve something in life. Because Manipura Chakra is responsible for your desire. And in yoga, we know that desire is essential to manifest. And now that we are here anyway, manifested into the material world, in the physical body, we use desire to go forward, to develop, to grow towards divinity. But if you are overwhelmed by desire for material things, or whatever it is that you desire in your life, to the point that it becomes an obsession, if you are not able to fulfill that desire, you will kill yourself. Literally. Frustrated desire leads to cancer. Because frustration, literally, frustrated desire, frustrates your energy circulation. So how do we have to approach this? The same as I explained in the morning. You have to try to find a middle way, the golden middle way. You have to learn to deal with your desire in a sensible way. But also you have to put it upon the framework of the yamas and the niyamas that we have. Because if your desire is unreasonable, it goes against the principle of truthfulness. Not only truthfulness, but also the principle of non-stealing. Because putting too much pressure upon yourself in an unreasonable way to achieve something that is unobtainable, that is a form of theft upon yourself. You are committing theft upon yourself. And of course it is violent also. So when you have a desire, you have to honestly ask yourself whether it is reasonable to pursue that desire. When I was 21 years old, a year after I started practicing yoga, I also picked up the practice of Hapkido. And I was very passionate about it, so I spent all day in the gym with my Korean teacher, 6 days a week. And after 2.5 years, he left. He had a conflict with the owner of the building, a very ugly conflict, and so he left. But I was not ready yet. I had spent all my time, and I felt frustrated that I couldn't continue. There were no other Hapkido places like that. So I decided to go to Korea. But to do that with nothing, and being so young, that is not so easy, especially not as a Dutch guy. When you're English, British, American, you can get a job to teach here. But as a Dutch guy, nobody wants to learn Dutch. So I was too young, but I had this obsession. It was really an obsession to go to Korea. And so the next 9 years I spent preparing to come here. When I was 33, I finally did. And I was aware that my desire was digesting me. It had become an obsession, and so I decided for myself, well, now or never. I'm just going to do it. Because if I don't, I will regret later when I don't have an opportunity anymore. So I'll just do it. Knowing that my fire, my Manipura Chakra, was digesting me. It was burning me up in frustration of not being able what I long time ago set out to do. And so I just did it. And that is important. If not, then you have to leave it behind you and don't look back anymore. Because it is essential for your health and well-being, happiness also, that you either fulfill the desire, and if it is really a desire that is becoming obsessive, well, then you just have to do it. And I knew that simply just doing it would lead to many conflicts and a lot of misery, which indeed occurred. But that was important for me to go through. And I swallowed it all with a smile, knowing that one day I would indeed leave it behind and it would not bother me anymore, and I would never have to regret for not having fulfilled it. So the price was very high, but the reward was 10 times higher than that, because I followed my dharma. And in that case, you just have to leave everything behind. All your worldly things that are so important for most people, your house, your job, your family, you just have to leave all that behind. Otherwise, it's not possible. Try to understand the importance of this. Desire. You can see people who are burnt up by desire. maybe you read my discussion. Before the new course started, I sent a story, an invitation for the open day, in fact, through Facebook. So if you are a member of our Facebook group, you have received that message, in which I explain the value of pranayama, and I describe there a Vietnamese woman who is suffering from severe rheumatism to the spine. She's only 35 years old. And very soon after she started practicing yoga with me, I started throwing comments at her that are related to her desire, her ego, her materialism, in such a way even that most people would actually run away and never come back to class anymore. Because she is destroying herself with her materialism, with her attachment. And I've heard from other students, I'm her teacher of course, so to me she's very considerate. I heard from other students who regularly have lunch with her, she's very unpleasant to be with. And that is the explanation for her rheumatism. Can you understand it? Can you believe that? So from the beginning, even before I knew that she was suffering from rheumatism, I already felt that ambition, that strong ambition to be perfect. That led her, she's married to a diplomat from Norway. So in a kind of way you can say she is successful in society, raising 3 kids. But the price she is paying for fulfilling her ambitions, that is just, she's paying for it with her life. She's only 35 years old and she's almost handicapped. The pranayama has helped her a lot. It has improved her condition a lot. But she is so attached that no matter my direct comments I make almost every class to her, which are on the brink of almost insulting, because I'm simply direct when people refuse to get the message at a certain point. She swallows it all, but she never learns from it. She still does not understand why she's sick. But sooner or later she will be ready, and then she will start to reflect on everything that has happened in the past year. Okay? Ambition really kills. Do not think that this is a joke or an overstatement. It's really damaging. Of course, you have to go very far with your ambition. Like this Vietnamese woman. It's really inhuman. Her ambition, her desire to succeed, her desire to be part of high society, etc. It's really funny, you know, she comes to class and it looks like a hardware store when she starts practicing yoga, taking off all her diamond and gold rings and her expensive watch and putting it all in front of her, very organized, very nicely organized. And I just sit there and I smile. And last week I made a comment about it. And it was really fun. It's amazing that she swallows all my comments about. But yeah, that is. You have to consider this. Very important. And not only desire, ambition, but also ego finds its origin in Manipura Chakra. Ego is one of the things that we have to get rid of. So they call that your ego has to die in yoga. Now what is ego actually? What is ego? Can somebody answer that question? Yeah, it can be very much related to the self, but ego is in fact a thought loaded with emotion. That is the definition of ego. It's a thought loaded with emotion. So what happens if you think about somebody who died, for example? There is a thought, but then you relate it to yourself, and you find yourself sad or lonely, or you feel sorry for that person to have died, and so you become emotional. And the thought in combination with emotion, that is in fact ego. Now how do you kill ego? Simply by making it relative. The moment that you are aware of your ego and how it is functioning in you, you have already made a big step towards letting your ego die. You sacrifice your ego. In the past, certain cultures would sacrifice children, or they would sacrifice somebody else. But to kill your ego, you do not die physically. You have to come to a point that you realize your ego. That is the ego dying. Ego is not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. The same as desire and ambition can kill you, ego can kill you too. Just see where ego is leading in our society. It leads to the gravest conflicts between people. All wars that are being fought and have been fought are based upon ego. My ego died the day that I was preparing to go to work in Holland. And I stood before the mirror. I don't know whether, probably I was combing my hair. I still had enough hair. And I just stared at the mirror, not looking at anything in particular, and suddenly I burst out laughing. Laughing at everything that I stand for, everything that I've always thought was important. Laughing at how you take everything so serious in life. And from that moment on, your heart opens and a big burden falls off your shoulders. It is when you start smiling at everything and everybody. Not just a smile, but a smile that is backed up by the warmth of your heart. And you stop, not only do you stop taking yourself so serious, you stop taking serious everything in life. Because everything is just as it is. And from that moment on, you become a very pleasant person to other people. From that moment on, also, you open the door to that child in you, to allow it to exist. If you take yourself serious, you cannot act like a child. You will feel ashamed to be yourself. So you start acting, you start play acting, like an adult, as you are supposed to be. You see somewhere in the handout that Manipura Chakra represents your will, physical will. That is the reason why, if you have a desire, ambition, why it can become destructive. Because desire or ambition is fueled by your will, or is manifested by your will. So we have to learn to dampen the severity of ambition, simply by consciously dealing with it. The moment that you consciously deal with desire and ego, it is already half as destructive as it was, and it actually becomes a constructive thing. People with a big ego are not necessarily ugly personalities, but it depends on how they deal with their ego. Michelle, you have a question?
So I'm in a field that nature has a lot of people that are very ambitious
Yeah.
and say egotistical. So how do you kind of exist in that kind of a social dynamic without getting affected by other people's ambitions and competitiveness? And, you know.
Always look at things in a relative way. Then look at those people also and see how they are unhappy. See how tense they are and unhappy and unhealthy. The energy is blocked. Then just smile with everything. And if you want to help them, but this is a little bit dangerous play, if you want to help them to realize their ego and ambition, you just make jokes. But if it turns out wrongly, they become furious at you for making a joke because they feel you are making them ridiculous. Which you do, of course. If you do it in a nice way, maybe they will get the message, but they can just explode in rage. So you have to ask yourself whether that is your task or not. But for the rest, just ignore it and just smile with it. And do not get affected by their behavior. Because those people are really not happy. You can see that very much here. The fire center is responsible for all your digestive organs. The stomach, spleen, the liver, the pancreas, all the heat organs that are related to digestion. Digestion inherently is heat. The food is being burnt up by the acids that are excreted. So they are all heat-related organs. So they are all fire organs. If you have problems, people, for example, who are overweight, they sooner or later develop diabetes. When you are overweight, you are in a tamas condition. The fire organ is not burning as bright as it should be. So your body cannot deal with the sugars that you ingest and you become sick. Children also, maybe this is not really related, but anyway, children who eat lots of sugar, they also are very vulnerable to developing diabetes, even if they are not overweight when they get older. You see also with children, children who drink a lot of soft drinks and eat candies and cookies and so on, they're very restless. Many of the diseases children are dealing with, like ADHD and other, these really difficult conditions where they are uncontrollable and are incapable of concentrating on studying and other things, and are constantly draining the parents from their energy because they need to have attention all the time. It's mostly related to sugars. Sugar is real poison. And the other side of the coin is that children who are not allowed to eat sugar, children who don't get soft drinks or only occasionally on special occasion like Saturday evening or birthday parties, but for the rest only get healthy food, those children are often very calm and pleasant also to in their behavior, and that really makes a big difference. Have you noticed this? Yeah. So if you ever think of having children, also keep that in mind. Because during the childhood you lay the foundation for them when they are adult. And if you already let them start out on sugar when they are young, they will at a young age as young adults, they will develop dependency on insulin. That is horrible. It's very difficult also to get rid of diabetes. In Holland, we call diabetes simply sugar disease, literally translated. Sugar disease. I saw a documentary on people with diabetes, and there is one way to get rid of diabetes, and that is simply eat only raw vegetables. They put people in controlled circumstances for a month or 2 months or so, and only eat raw vegetables and juices, and maybe not 100%, but for 80-90% they got rid of their diabetes. But interestingly, 80% of all those people walked away from those controlled circumstances. They couldn't stand it. They ran away from the home where they were staying, and they went back home. They just wanted to eat pizza and hamburger and all the things that led actually to their disease. So here you have a problem of control actually you are dealing with. But general medicine does not have a solution to diabetes, only injecting yourself with insulin a couple of times a day. But if you're ever confronted with such a situation, you do have to control, and I think you have, since you are here, you have to look at your diet. I think you can make great improvements if you really control your diet. Okay, interesting also is the age in which the developmental stages in the age approximately between 15 and 21. That is when you see teenagers becoming very stubborn and strong-willed and displaying very difficult behavior. Rebellion. It is the time when young people start distinguishing themselves from other people, and they have the need naturally to establish their own identity. It is the best time to do sports on a high level, or to go to the army. Because when you're older, you just don't have that fire burning in you anymore. Your consciousness is on a higher level, hopefully, and you just don't have that fever anymore to do what you were able to do when you were in and around that age.
Is that why young people in that age group tend to go out and party a lot too? Is that related?
Yes, of course. Because that establishes also your identity. You belong to a group, or you belong to a kind of music that you like, and you are full of energy. Yeah. Do you know this rock around the clock? Rock around the clock? In the past,
The song?
there was this series on TV with Henry Winkler.
Happy days.
Oh yeah, oh happy days. Yeah, the phones. The phones is a typical example of a teenager or an early twinner who is in control of his Manipura Chakra. Young people who are in control of Manipura Chakra are like that, cool. While most young people are very explosive and very bubbly, he's very cool, always. Of course, there are people who mimic this, but there are young people who just have that quality. And so other young people look up to them, and then you have a status like the fonts. My oldest brother was like that when he was young. Nothing disturbed. Nothing disturbed him. Do you understand that the liver and the spleen are secondary chakras of Manipura Chakra? Did you ever wake up at night sweating after an evening of drinking a lot of alcohol? Around 5 o'clock in the morning you wake up and you're soaking, you're wet. Your bed is wet. You're sweating. You wake up in a sweat. That is because your liver is getting you rid of excess calories that you have taken in with your drinks. And that usually happens very typically when Shakti starts rising, when the world starts awakening, when the sun starts to rise, the birds wake up, you also start to wake up and the liver starts emitting all that energy. The spleen does the opposite. When you, if you are familiar with sports, you are always told not to eat before sporting, before doing your training. If you eat before sports, you have this incredible pinch in your spleen. Why? Because your body can take care of only one big activity at a time. So when you have just had a meal, your body is busy digesting that and that costs a lot of energy. If you then start doing something else that costs a lot of energy too, that is too much for your body to handle. So the liver starts, in yoga we consider that the spleen is actually taking energy from the environment. And that's why it's squeezing, it's pinching, it's even painful. The liver does the opposite. If you have too many calories in you, the liver starts to emit that energy to the environment, getting rid of that energy in the form of heat.
When you say the spleen takes energy from the environment, do you mean like inside the body? Like from fat or muscles, or from outside the body environment?
Yeah, from outside. But that may be a strange concept, but Shiva and Shakti also you play with. If you look at Jalat Pralajani, this little Indian man, who is existing without any food and drink, he's basically feeding himself with energy from the environment.
Is that possible for normal people?
Yes, but on a very limited scale. That's why you die if you don't eat and drink for a couple of days.
So then, are there different kinds of energies floating around us right now? That, of course, like there's light rays and microwaves and electricity and energy, but as yoga, the way that it's sort of talked about the energy centers in our body, is there like another sort of system of energy that exists outside of the body?
No. There is one energy, in fact, and that energy can have three qualities. We call these qualities the gunas. That is tamas, Rajas and Sattva. They are the same, but they have a different quality. One is expanding, the other one is contracting, and then the third one is in balance. It's neither expanding nor contracting. But surely there are forms of energy around. Yeah, but we don't consider that in yoga. Of course, there is magnetism from electric appliances. There is magnetism from mobile phones and all the networks that are now in the streets everywhere. They do affect people, although we don't consciously feel that, but they do affect people sometimes deeply. So you have to consider that, of course. If you are in such circumstances, you have to see if it is possible to get out of that environment, if you feel that you are affected by it. There is a huge struggle going on about the safety of the antennas that are out there to convey your telephone signals. And even in the neighborhood of those power lines that go through the countryside especially, people who live close by or even under farmers or residential areas very close by to such power lines, there seems to be statistically forms of brain cancer, brain tumors, and I don't know why, probably out of commercial interest. It is constantly being denied. But then there are also constantly reports that people are in fact suffering from it. So you should not underestimate them. Other questions? Jeff?
I know in Korea there's the whole movement of Han yoga, Tantien.
Dan yoga, Dan
Yoga, and
yeah.
I even tried it for a day or two, and there was a lot of slapping.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you had anything to say about that whole school of yoga, and anything to say about this whole.
I used to actually work for it.
Oh, okay.
It's a cult. It's really
Yeah, look it up, Google it, and you will see that there are huge scandals, especially in America, surrounding Danha. Yeah, it's a cult, it's a sect, and people are really being indoctrinated and brainwashed, and it's full of dogmas. But very typically Korean is that hitting the body. Surely it will have an effect, but I always smile a little bit when I see that, because people are very dogmatic about doing that. It's almost like they are moving like robots, and they just do it because they're supposed to do it, and everybody's doing it. And you see that not only in Dan, but you see that in a taekwondo class, and you see that in a soccer group who is preparing to start their exercise. And, yeah, all the time. You see people in the park also bouncing into trees with their belly. They are having a love affair with the tree. Yeah. Especially those are Joshis, like riding up against the tree. That's really hilarious. They should make a hole in the tree. But I don't know about Japan or China. If that kind of practice is common there too, but I think it's very typical for here. And Dan-hak, Dan-hak is Dan-hak. Dan yoga is a new invention to make it commercially more interesting. But there is no Dan yoga. Dan-hak is Dan-hak. Like Tai Chi is Tai Chi, and Pakwa is Pakwa, Qigong is Qigong, Dan is Dan.
It comes from Anhak. Where?
Danhak originally, it is a practice to create sattva. Like most practices in Asia, are actually based upon the principle of yin and yang and trying to make sattva between the two. But I think Danhak was invented 40 years ago, maybe put together out of other elements. But it has become very dogmatic. It is very dogmatic. As an intellectual Westerner, I think you will very quickly run away screaming, because there are many things that don't make sense, and don't ask questions, because then you are evil. Because when you ask questions, you put people in a difficult situation because they don't know the answer. They're very dogmatic, and if you have a little bit of intelligence, you would very easily feel resistance, revulsion even maybe, against something that is so systemized and so dogmatically systemized. Yeah, but it is, you can compare it with yoga, but it is not yoga. Danhak is Danhak. It is like calling jazz ballet, call it jazz ballet yoga, or you can put the word yoga on anything like that in that way. But Danhak is Danhak, yoga is yoga.
Great things in yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any comments on, because like I said, I only went for 1 or 2 classes, but it was like,
Yeah, you have to ask them.
building up a ball of heat or something like that. I remember that you're trying to something do in this general area.
Yeah, when I worked for him, we had to start class, we clapped our crotch like 100 times. Just to activate this power chakra. Then we would do this, and this would like bring energy down to our bodies. We would do this, and sort of like I don't know, it was just strange. It was just, that's what I did for 2 months, and then I quit. It's crazy.
Yeah. Is it a little bit correct what I'm saying about it? About being very dogmatic and
Yeah, it was a cult.
Yeah. Google it and you will see. Just look up Danhak and Dan Yoga. Scandal after scandal. It's a huge issue in the United States, I think, at this moment, or already for a couple of years. People are really being stripped of all their possessions. People who are the least bit emotionally unstable, they're being indoctrinated into just giving up their bank account to the owner, and sell their house and give the proceeds to the owner, and driving around in a yellow Hummer. Somewhere in Arizona, I think.
He's having his big belly.
Yeah. No, but you were asked to give up all your possessions, and he's building up his possessions.
The leader is Dr. Lee. That's his name.
Yeah.
And he's being investigated in the United States for tax evasion or something.
Yeah.
So he's in trouble in the States, and he's having sort of sexual relationships with the most attractive female members.
You see that very often. Well, we have discussed the issue of brahmacharya, chastity, and I have not mentioned this, but brahmacharya is very important for your growth in all aspects. And one thing is, as a yoga teacher or a leader in any other form, is if you give in to your sexual urges, you get into relationships with students or people who look up to you, you will inevitably destroy yourself, because sooner or later you will end up in scandal. An example of this recently, Rodney Yee. Rodney Yee has totally disappeared from the surface of the earth. While he was so present there, he was actually a gymnast, not a yogi at all, but he has a good body, so he's good with his body, so he used that to build fame in yoga. But he had several girlfriends. While he was married, he had several girlfriends. Using his overweight, his overbearing, to manipulating girls having sex with him, and it came out one day, and he just totally disappeared. Huh?
That's what happened to him.
Yeah. And it happens to other people too. And the dance sect also, one of the aspects of and you see this very often with cults and sects is that there is sexual abuse. They're very creepy. And as a teacher, if you want to be prosperous, stay away from that. Practice brahmacharya. It is not for nothing that we have this principle, because well, maybe you know people in your circle of friends, family, playboys, playgirls, who just give in to all their sexual urges. Those people usually are blocked in their normal development. They are busy with all their relationships. They are not capable of focusing on their work or their studies. They're just very distracted. And they find their sexual life much more important than all those things that are related to stability in our lives. And maybe it's very exciting and very interesting, but very, very unstable. And as a professional, if you want to achieve something, it's better to stay away from that instability. We are all human beings, so we all have our sexual urges, but you just have to look at it rationally and see the consequences actually of it. You can see the most successful businessmen or women, they have a very steady, stable relation. Most, I don't say all, but most of them. And that is the foundation for growth. That is the foundation for you achieving your goals. And that is a choice you have to make consciously. In contradiction with your natural tendencies, your natural instincts to be a hunter or to be hunted. Everybody has those instincts, but we have an intellect that tells us, well, you know, I better take it easy, because in the end what is important is my life, is the progress that I make and what I achieve. And all those relationships in the end, they are fleeting. It will pass, and one day you find yourself, maybe when the hormones stop flying around, you find yourself regretting having wasted all that time and energy. Anyway, just think about it. Other aspect of brahmacharya is exactly this. And you know, scandals. Can you imagine if I would have relationships with my students and it comes out here in the gym and people start gossiping? I can't continue to stay here. Then what am I going to do? I will lose everything that I built up. Consider this aspect of brahmacharya, very important.
Question. Can you say something more about the desire and the relationship to dharma? Because you mentioned that you have your desire and come to Korea and you have keto, and it was following the dharma. So I'm just wondering what dharma, like what that is. Does that mean desire? Is it like same thing, or?
Yes, but there is desire for material things, and there is a deeper desire that has put you here on earth in the first place. That is a desire that most people are not aware of. Yes, and interestingly, people who start practicing yoga, when they develop more and more sensitivity, they also slowly but certainly start to feel a vague sense of destiny. But it's very difficult to make that concrete, very difficult to understand that, but you start feeling a certain sense of destiny. When that becomes stronger and stronger, if you continue to ignore that, the higher powers will throw things at you that will confront you with your dharma. So if you ignore your deeper desire, which is a good desire, It is the reason why you have manifested on earth in a physical body in the first place. If you ignore that desire, well, while you are slowly but certainly starting to become aware of it, you will every time bump into situations that cause trouble in your life. And those situations happen to teach you something. Those situations happen to manipulate you, slowly but certainly, in the right direction, in line with your Dharma. And if you start following your Dharma, you will come across more misery in order to find your way. But then, once you are on that path, most of your misery will disappear and you will have much less conflicts and you will have much less problems on your path than normal people. Now, at first it becomes very turbulent, and then when the dust settles down, everything becomes very nice and smooth. But as long as you do not obey your Dharma, once you start actually becoming aware of it, as long as you don't obey it, you will get more and more misery thrown at you. So, whenever you are in trouble, whenever you find yourself in misery, you have to ask yourself why. There is something there to learn. You have to learn from your misery. You have to draw conclusions. And that is in the beginning very difficult because you are not used to it. But from now on, you just start looking at it in that way and you will see that you will become more and more skillful at detecting the hidden message within that misery. And life will start becoming smoother and smoother and less conflicts. Yeah?
So does that mean, like, you said that, like, the Dharma is something about, like, why we're put here or why we're born or put on earth? Like, that mean, like, how about with the relationship between Dharma and following the heart? I mean,
that is the same. Dharma and following the heart is the same. The heart, following the heart is in fact soul consciousness. Soul consciousness, that is your divine self. Your divine self is your Dharma. The problem is, we have to first figure out actually what that is. Because since we were born, we have been constantly kept busy with all kinds of things that distract us from it, to the point that we are just totally disconnected. Everybody in another, some people more than others, of course, surely there are many people who are at least a little bit connected. But it's very difficult to give it shape because we just do not have the sensitivity and it's difficult to make it concrete. And that takes time and development. Your practice of yoga, for example, leads to more and more sensitivity. You become more and more aware of yourself. You become aware of all the superficial aspects of you, which you will get rid of. You will become more and more aware of the real aspects of you, which you will then start to develop as a result. And you will find your Dharma as a result of all this.
Is Dharma a choice by the person, or like is it something that was made before?
Yeah, you have to look at Dharma as a kind of a genetic information that is stored in you that you have to fulfill. So finding your way in life is actually a duty everybody has because it will lead to enlightenment. It will suddenly life starts to make sense. While without it, you will have, even though you are very successful in your professional life, in a material way you are very successful, but you will still have that hole in your heart. Something is missing. And most people try to make up for that hole in the heart by having more material things, by having even more spectacular vacation trips in the summer and the winter, by even more excitement and maybe even more girlfriends or boyfriends, just to fill up that hole. That is a spiritual poverty that is the result of that. So this is also Do not ever feel bad anymore when you are in misery, when you are in trouble in your life. The reason for that is simply that you have to learn something. You are on the wrong path. Every time you have misery, is only to put you, or that is an attempt to put you back on track, or to put you on the track in the first place. So just try. Every time when you are confronted with conflicts and misery and things going wrong in your life, try to find out where you have to go. For me, Hapkido, that was not my Dharma. Or going to Korea, that was not my Dharma. But they were instruments being thrown onto my path to get me somewhere. I could have gone to a nice place in the sun somewhere, in a tropical island or so, and just grow a big belly and do nothing. That's very pleasant. But I would have a huge hole in my heart. So when you follow your Dharma also, your circumstances are totally irrelevant. Even in northern Siberia or North Pole, you could live, if you were following your Dharma, you would simply adapt to the situation. When you just make the best out of it and you walk around with a smile because you are connected. So follow your feeling, follow your ambitions and desires, but do not just blindly follow them. Try to do something with them constructively. And do not stay stuck also. Hapkido was only a stage in my life, and the things that I did before all were a stage in my life. Maybe yoga is also only a stage in my life. It is the biggest and the most important. I think I will teach yoga until I die, but actually that is stupid thinking. You don't know. It can be only an intermediate stage, even to a higher goal than just teaching yoga. Don't know. So you can stay stuck where you are. That is tamas. If you keep your eyes open, you will, when the time is right, you will feel that it's time to move on also. I know I'm not going to stay in Korea forever, but I know that I'm going to stay for a long time, but not forever. When will you leave? Well, I don't know. Many people have a plan, next year or 2 years or 3 years later. I don't know. But when the day comes that it's time to go, I will know that it's time to go. And then you have to respect that. We all have to follow our heart. You have to do that. That is advanced course yoga, but it's important because most of you maybe will not have an opportunity to do advanced course. But following your heart starts simply by doing what you want to do and stop doing what you don't want to do. And if you don't know how that works, then start with simple things like food, like drinks, like whatever, but follow your feeling. Not like a child, because a child has no control. If you tell this to a child will eat pizza and hamburgers all day, and Coca-Cola and 7-Up. As a sensible adult, of course, you know what is constructive and what is just lower desire. Yeah? So you of course, you make that distinction. Because after all, this is all about control. So you are off the leash, but controlled. You are not running wild anymore, like a wild animal. You are a trained wild animal. So not subdued, not oppressed. You are a wild animal, but you have an intelligence, you have an intellect that is guiding. So you live out your frustrations, live out your ambitions, but do it consciously. Yeah, Jeff?
Very quick, more practical question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And I think of like bringing along news in my like an iPod, headphones, sometimes even a book, and I walk with a book sometimes. But I know those things aren't necessarily bad things. But trying to combine things like that, is there something? I can also hear a voice saying that Ron wouldn't really like this.
That is what you make of it. But that voice is actually telling you, whispering into your ear, that it is not good, and you just transform that into Ron wouldn't like it. But that is the voice of reason in you, and so you know the answer already. When you walk, focus on walking, do it consciously. The same as when you vacuum clean your house. Your house will be much cleaner if you do that consciously. So when you walk, the effect of walking is bigger if you just focus on walking. If you meditate, if you practice asana, but you are actually thinking of other things.
I've been better this week because I've been practicing asana in the mornings, but I listen to the radio.
Don't do that. At least try.
Yeah.
If it works for you, okay, let it be an intermediate stage, but try to kick the habit. That is really, you are more connected with yourself if you are just alone with yourself doing the asana. When you have a radio, it can be a nice distraction, but it is a distraction and it takes you away from what you are doing.
There just aren't enough hours in the day, and I like to listen to the news, and that's how I justify it. But I know that's what you guys say, centered on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just on that note, are you on that basis? Are you against all exercise to music?
No. I'm not a radical. No, I'm just telling you how it is, and you have to figure out for yourself how you approach that. You know, we talked about Muladhara Chakra, which function is, for example, excretion. You go to the toilet and you read the newspaper. You're totally not aware of what you're doing. It is important that you are engaged in what you do. It is. It adds to your health, overall health. But you know, music can be stimulating. For aerobics, or dancing, dancing is also exercise on music, and aerobic without music, that I think that this just seems impossible. So that's good. But when you practice yoga, that is a higher form of exercise. In fact, it is a more intelligent way of exercising. One more thing about Manipura Chakra, this is very important because we live in the country of floor heating, Ondol. Hatha Yoga Pradipika says, his Hatha Yoga Pradipika says stay away from fire because fire emits carbon dioxide. Really true. No, but yeah, there are many sensible things in the book too. But no, fire from outside destroys your fire. So you have to be very cautious with heat and cold. This applies also to the air conditioner. Do not turn on the heater at the slightest chill that you feel. But very importantly, do not sit in front of a heater. Actually the sutra says, do not bask near the fire. Lying on a heated floor is exactly that. You bask near the fire, and you do that 8 hours a day, if not more. You know what happens as a result of this? You destroy Manipura Chakra. The energy plant starts producing energy, and you become very tamas. It makes you weak. It makes people weak. I've seen this with Korean members in my 7 o'clock morning class. There are several people who are very typically enjoying lying on a warm floor, even in the summer, they have an electric mat on their bed, and they think that is healthy. But in the meantime, their mouth is always like this. They're always kiuni option, that means that they are out of energy, they're lacking energy, they're depressed, and they're always complaining, a pain here and all, and they think they are just pitiful. And all these complaints are more reason to lie on a hot floor. They think that is healing them. No! Don't ask near the fire. Fire destroys your fire. So if you are always cold, do not answer cold by sitting in front of a heater or lying on a warm floor. You have to do the opposite. You have to teach your body to warm itself up again by itself, naturally, with Manipura Chakra. This has very big consequences because as a result of destroying the fire in Manipura Chakra, you develop, for example, depression, negative thinking, because that is a tamas condition. So you have to, I should have told you this at the beginning of Manipura Chakra because this is a very important issue. Fire destroys your fire. Don't forget this.
What about using a lot of blankets?
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I don't usually use heater, but when I do, I just pile up stuff on me.
You know, I was born in Amsterdam in an old house where there was only one heater, one stove in the living room. In the winter, I would wake up with ice on the inside of the windows. That means that the room is below zero. And how do you deal with that? Yeah, you pile up more blankets on your bed, you put on a pyjama, and on the really extreme cold nights, you put a whole hot water bottle at your feet. But the hot water bottle, apart from the hot water bottle, putting more blankets on top of your bed, you are still providing your own heat. And you only preserve that by having more blankets. Otherwise, because the room is so cold, it would fly away. But yeah, I can't sleep in a room that is warm. It's time to start exercises. I can't sleep in a room that is warm because the difference with warm room and a cold room is that in the morning I wake up with my face puffed up and very difficult to wake up, and I really feel heavy and headache also. While if I sleep in a cold room, the way I was used to in Holland, I'm fresh and I feel energetic. And you have to compare this yourself. You have to, maybe if you are born here and you grew up as a baby, as a child, as a teenager, a young adult, maybe you feel that this actually is good for you. But think of this about Manipura Chakra, the relation of Manipura Chakra and heat from outside.
About like going to the sauna.
But going to the sauna is something that you do only for half an hour or so. Too much sauna is also not good. Too much hot bath is also not good. But if you sleep 8 hours a night and the rest of the day also you spend a lot of time on a hot floor, you're really changing your nature. You're really changing your energy.
Have you heard of, I grew up hearing this ever since I was like 4 years old. Girls are supposed to sit on cold surfaces.
Yes, if a surface is too cold, it can indeed be bad. Why only girls?
Yeah. I don't know, it was just always like my grandfather would say, oh, girls are supposed to sit on a cold floor. I don't know why.
Yeah. You know, if I'm outside and I sit down on a stone waiting for somebody, if I sit on the stone for too long, I have diarrhea. So it is bad to sit on a cold surface. But that doesn't mean that you have to sit on a hot surface. There is something in between. When you sit on a stone, it's better to put a cloth on it or sit on your bag or something, because the cold directly goes into your intestines, and that is not good.
I had heard that it caused hemorrhoids.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can. In my case, I know immediately.
Anyone actually got that, but that's what, when we were younger,
ask near the fire.
Is sunbathing okay?
Sunbathing? That's very bad for your skin.
Aside from being bad for your skin, is it bad for your fire?
Well, you know, just look at how... I'm from Holland. In Holland we don't have much sunshine. It's always gray and raining and windy. So the moment that the sun shines, everybody goes out into the park and the swimming pools and takes off their clothes. But if you live in a hot country, nobody sunbathes. And even if you go to even hotter tropical countries, people are very slow and sluggish. Because of the heat, to protect themselves from the heat, they have to do everything very slow, and you can't become excited and be busy and stressed. You can't. So people in tropical countries have this typical attitude of being very laid back, and but hot countries, you never see people sunbathing. Only in Finland and Sweden and Northern Europe. Maybe America, I don't know. Yeah, but these days people are very careful with that also because of skin cancer. Whether it destroys your fire, if you look at how people behave in tropical countries, I guess it does. But if you occasionally, I think that's another matter then. Yeah. Okay, let's have a 5-minute break and we really have to get started.